Good morning, all. We're happy to have you here. We want to welcome you officially and also officially open the event. My name is Nkiru, like he has said, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you all leave everything to come and be with us. It's actually a crucial issue that we have on ground. But before we continue, I would like to let you know that we have the conveniences down at the first floor. The one we have on this floor isn't working. And in a situation where there's any fire alarm, the exit way, it's here. And the muster point, as we go, we'll eventually get to know where it is. But then no one is meant to leave the lift, as it's all known. Thank you. So at this point, I'm going to call back Olaleko to come and tell us exactly why we are here and what it is about. He is the CEO of Save the Woman organization. Thank you.
Like she has mentioned, I'm the CEO of Save the Woman. Save the Woman is an organization that started back in Nigeria. We go to prisons to empower the women in the prison because women, one way or the other, they have been encountered with challenges, and at the end of the day, when you get to the criminal justice system, even if they face child abuse or they face any abuse from the home, they still end up in the criminal justice in the course of defending themselves. So we think of there are a lot of challenges due to that. It could be poverty, it could be other socio-economic challenges. So we don't want them to leave the prison and come out without doing anything, or because some of them have lost their relationship, they've lost their job, they've lost the good family they've been with, nobody tends to associate with them. So we kind of been a friend to this kind of women to provide necessary skills so that we'll be able to reduce rate of reoffending, and they'll be able to also have something confidently to do. In the course of that, we've expanded to Zimbabwe. We are already working to start establish in North America. And also, we are in discussion with my sister's place on how we could also replicate same in the northeast of England, hopefully very soon. However, Save the Woman has been making local impacts by supporting the people from African Caribbean community. We are all aware of recent reports on social services in Teesside, which was very critical, particularly Middlesbrough Local Authority Children's Services. And this is also happening across the country, not only the northeast of England. So that is why we said it would be very essential for family to come around. And we've seen some of the reports from the government inspector. So today, we kind of seen how to hear from the grassroots, people that are passing through this kind of situation, to help the families and also to help the local authorities. From the reports on the 25th February 2018, Teesside Life, in a headline publication titled, £120 million, that's how much Teesside councils have lost in spending power due to austerity. In the report, the government revealed the total spending power that will be available to councils in 2018-2019, including Atipo, Darlington councils, the 5 in the region getting a total of £544.2 million. That compares with £711.8 million in 2010-2011. All councils have made sweeping cuts to budgets since 2010. So now an increasing amount of the money authorities have to spend comes directly from the public's pocket. We believe it will save the public money if Middlesbrough Local Authority and other neighboring councils can develop strategic plans on intervention plan and early support, which can be offered to families and children in need of help and children subject to a child protection plan with focus on diversity, cultural, and social values. Not only as part of the training for the social services staff, but also for the newly arrived parents and parents-to-be. This will promote cohesion, enable both parties to have thorough and adequate understanding of the importance of cultural and social values, child protection knowledge, and why they are crucial in child upbringing. We want to build a relationship to bridge that gap so that everybody will be living happily. I've received some of the reports. People were saying this should have been done years ago because some families are so scared and they have even moved away from Middlesbrough and other parts of this northeast of England. There are some family, they've been living other part of the country, coming to the Middlesbrough, they see it as mystery of the life, of what they've ever experienced. So therefore, we believe we are critical friends of the system. And on that note, I would like to say big thanks to Teesside University for providing us this safe environment for people to be able to come and dialogue to make Teesside move forward. On that note, I would like to say thank you again for creating your time and for coming here today. Thank you. Do we have Chief Executive MVDA? Is he around? Maybe he's on his way because he should be here by now. Hopefully, we are still expecting. He will be the one to speak to us now. On that note, I would like to invite local MPs representative. I've only got two apologies because we sent to all the MPs in Teesside. I've got apology from Alex Cunningham from Stockton, and I've also got apology from Dr. Paul Williams. However, they are interested in this work, and they are also expecting a copy of the report of this meeting. On that note, I will welcome the representative of MP for Middlesbrough, and the McDonough is representative in the person of Councillor Mark Story.
Hi everyone. I wasn't actually aware that I was going to be speaking, so you have to bear with me. I think this is a really important issue. Obviously, children's services and children in care is something that affects lots of people in Middlesbrough, particularly because of the scale of deprivation in the town. Ola referred to the cuts and austerity, the impact that's having on the council, and that's tremendously important to stress. In terms of everything the council is doing, the cuts have had a huge impact on the services the council provides. Just for everyone's information, before 2010, when the cuts programme started and the Conservatives cut our budget, children's services and children in care through children's services accounted for about just under a third of the council's budget. It's now over 2/3 of the council's budget is taken up by funding care placements and making sure that children are cared for in Middlesbrough. And that's one of our statutory responsibilities. As a councillor, it's something that I take incredibly seriously, and I know that my colleagues from across all the different political parties in Middlesbrough take children in care very, very seriously as an issue. It is our intention, and it always has been our intention, to make sure that wherever possible, children are not taken into care. That is not ideal for an ideal setting for children in the vast majority of cases. And what we want to try and do is provide an environment and a community in Middlesbrough where people can have their children looked after in the home with families that they live with and with their loved ones. One of the things that I've recently done as a councillor was I sat on the Children's Social Services Scrutiny Panel, which is a committee that looks at children in care and issues to do with social services and children. And I went out on site visits with the early help teams at the council, and Ola mentioned that as well, that we need to do more in terms of early help to try and prevent children from going into care in the first place, trying to stop it at the front end so we do preventative work, because prevention is always better than cure. If we can avoid children having to go into care in the first place and we can deal with the issues that families are facing, then that's so much the better. And as a councillor and as someone who works in the Member of Parliament's office, we see a lot of this every day. And I personally know that the professionals in this area are doing their best to do their jobs properly. And when there are issues and when there are problems and when we need to do things differently, we need to hear from people who are affected by that. And there's probably people in this room today who have been affected by these issues. As a Member of Parliament's office, I know that Andy MacDonald would want to hear from people who have concerns. He'd want to hear from people who have issues with the care system. as a councillor in my ward, if you live in Central Ward, I absolutely would like to hear from anybody who had any concerns, and I'm more than happy to answer emails and phone calls on that basis. Because what we need to do, as I say, is make sure that children get the best possible start in life in Middlesbrough, and that's always been my priority. I know it's Andy MacDonald's priority as well, and that's what we'll continue to strive to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Matt Story. Can we give him a round of applause again, please? Just a quick announcement, we might be taking photographs, so if you are not interested or you don't want to be on that part, please kindly signify. And also, we are taking some recordings, so if you don't want to be part of it as well, let us know. If you are fortunate to take a mic, we have a depository agreement for you to be part of the Building Bridges, Breaking Barriers grassroots conversation. So you need to sign this so that you'll be able to have authority to use this publication as part of evidence to make sure we make things happen and there's changes in the system. Thank you very much. That will lead us to our next speaker, which is Mayor for Middlesbrough and the Preston. He has sent a representative, he sent apology because he's travel somewhere now. So I will call on the Chief Executive Member for Children's Services, Councillor Barry Cooper, representing at the Preston.
Thank you. First of all, you'll notice I'm not in a suit and tie. Normally I would be. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is we're having a charity event in the town hall where you dress down, you put money in a charity box. The other one is that as explained, the invite went to Mayor Preston. He wasn't available. I was asked to come and I thought we were just coming to a forum. I wasn't aware that I was going to be on your agenda. However, I'm very pleased that Councillor Story was in front of me because he's covered quite a lot of ground. So I'll pick up a few different points. The first thing is social services have a phone number, and when you ring that, there's not much point really, unless you have a social worker and you know the name of the social worker, because you get an answering machine and it says, name of your social worker. No, I don't want a social worker, I want to speak to somebody. Then it says, report an incident. No, I don't want to report an incident, I want to speak to somebody. So if any of you have Googled this or gone on the website and you've found a phone number and it's no use to you, I know about it now, and I'm going to put that right when I get back to the town hall, because I like to speak to human beings and I'm sure you do as well. Secondly, Children's Services had an Ofsted report on the 8th of July. I'm sure everybody would like to know the result of that. Unfortunately, because we haven't had the official response yet, I can't discuss that. Of course, once it does become public, it'll be on the Middlesbrough website and people will be able to look it up and ask questions about it. Moving on from that, after that Ofsted inspection, I met with concerned families. They raised several issues with me, and again, for data protection and their privacy, I can't discuss those, but they did come to me in confidence. I have spoken, I am taking up several activities on their behalves. The full financial report, people have shown an interest in that. That will be going to the executive on the 3rd of September. And again, that will then be available once it's been officially received for public scrutiny. And the last thing I would like to say, which you've already heard actually, is I only represent Middlesbrough Council. I can't do anything about national issues unless I write as a private individual. I can't do anything about international incidents unless I write as a private individual. However, as Councillor Story has said, we do have an MP, Andy MacDonald, and if anybody has national and international concerns, I would recommend that you take it to our MP.
I don't want to go into the specifics. What I want to ask is there any way you can work towards having somebody who's independent? So is there anything independent? And before I sit down, everything that you're saying, Matthew, I worked for them for 12 years. I was based at Winnie Banks. I was working in the children's homes. I was working in early help. I was working with social workers. And in case I don't get a chance to say this, I'm telling you now, there are social workers, social work managers, the managers of the children's services, I won't mention the names, even the chief executive, they all know about this, where social workers are deliberately, these are not mistakes, deliberately destroying families, deliberately lying, taking people's kids off them. I've been in court. I'm going to sit down, I'm sorry. I've been in court, called in as a witness, because I used to work for the council, for somebody who had their baby taken off them. £80,000 a year to go into foster care. You talk about budget, you talk about austerity, you talk about the cuts. These social workers are spending more money taking our kids off us. They're spending more money in the courts, more money on the contact, more money on the foster care when it doesn't need to be done. And everything that they work on is lies. They made up that many lies. I went to court. I said to the judge, I said, these are all lies. I was looking through all these forms that they said I'd filled in, because I used to work for the council. I said, that's a lie. Look, that's not filled in. That's not signed by me. And then the girl, that lady got her daughter back because I defended it in court. So that's what we're dealing with. And just before I do sit down, and I will sit down now, I lost my job working for the council after 12 years because I helped a family who was on child protection, and the social workers were bullying the children. The children had recorded them on the mobile phones. I've emailed the chief executive, if it's the same chief executive that you had last year. I emailed him and the head of the social services, if it's the same ones you had last year, and the heads of early health. I know they're still there. They all knew what I was saying was the truth. We've got the recordings on mobile phones what the kids have made. We know what the social workers have said, and we know what the social workers have recorded on the system. It was all lies, and I'll just give you one glimpse. They went to a child who was
1 minute, please. Oh, can we have all other mobiles put off, please? And secondly, this is about critical issues. And all what we want is changes. We don't want it to be too personal. All we want is how do we make dialogue and move forward. Okay?
Sorry, I'm going to finish, right? This gentleman's child was self-harming because she wanted to live with the father. The social worker went to meet the child. The child recorded on a mobile phone. The social worker said, what are you thinking when you're self-harming? I'm thinking I need to be living with my dad. The social worker goes back on the system, LCS it's called, and we've got the copy, we've got the printout. Oh, I've asked her, I won't mention her name, I've asked her why she's self-harming, she won't say. These type of lies, just to punish the families. I will sit down, I'm sorry if it took too much time. I need to get that off my chest, because what we're dealing with here is deep-rooted hypocrisy, corruption, lies. And people talk about money. How much does it cost to put on the contact, which doesn't need, you don't need supervised contact, because you've gone in there and you've invented lies and you've invented issues, and then this guy's mental health's been affected, so if he's gone and seeks services from the mental health services, that's a strain on them. If he's had health problems, it's a strain on the NHS. These social workers are costing us more money. Thank you. I'll give you this.
Thank you. How do I respond to that? Well, the first thing I can respond by is saying that I am independent. I've only been in office since the beginning of May. I haven't got round to interviewing, speaking to or visiting our social services yet. I'll tell you why I got into politics is because I have family living in the Newport area, and I believe the Newport area and Gresham area is the most deprived area in this town. I wrote to Middlesbrough Council. I didn't get a response. I stood for an election and people agreed with me and put me in office. Now, my eyes have been opened since I joined the council. I got, there's always no money. That's all I've had since I joined the council. There is always no money. I had it's the Labour Party's fault. Everyone said that. Well, let's be honest about this. I share Newport and Gresham with two Labour councillors, and we're on opposite sides of the fence. On the ward, I'll give credit where credit's due, both of those Labour councillors are working hard, and they're working with me for the people, and that is their policy. Unfortunately, you see, we've got people who are good people, but they have to follow the party lead, otherwise they get deselected. And that's one of the problems. Now, you heard Matthew talking about all sorts of things, and he's quite right. The budgets have been seriously cut. And that's not the Labour Party, that's the Conservatives. I'm not a Conservative, I'm not a Labour. As I've said, I'm independent. Now, I invited myself to that Ofsted meeting with the parents. I'm the first councillor that's ever done that. They didn't know what to do with me. So I stood there and I said, look, if anybody's unhappy with me being here, I'll leave. If anybody wants to speak to me, then speak to me afterwards and I'll take up your case. And people didn't wait. But the Ofsted chap allowed me to stay, as long as I sat and said nothing, and I was quite happy to do that. The families all wanted me there because nobody had ever approached them and said, I want to help. Well, that's the truth. I do want to help. People have said, oh, you're in it for the money, it's a gravy train, etc., etc. No, I'm not. I'm here because I want to help. I'm a family man. I have 5 kids. I have 4 grandkids. I understand the problems and I understand the failings and I want to put them right. So if anybody wants to speak to me when this meeting's finished, I'll be waiting and I will take up the cases of anybody that wants me to do that.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Sorry, can I respond to it? I think just that Andy wasn't...
Don't be a chair.
Would that be alright? Just like, I won't take it too much time. Is that alright if I say a few minutes? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. I see where you're coming from. I can understand that. I can hear how angry you are, and I get that. Barry's touched on something there which I think is really important. That party politics doesn't come into this. Party politics doesn't really come into a lot of the work that the council does, because I'm sure Barry would agree with this. I don't think there is a single councillor on Middlesbrough Council who is doing their job at the council for the money. I think every single one of them wants to make their community a better place to live. I think all of them are trying to do a really good job for the people of their ward, every single one of them. Now, I work for the Member of Parliament, he's a Labour MP, and you referenced the MP. Andy MacDonald has dealt with, I don't know off the top of my head, but I could get the numbers for you of how many social services issues we've dealt with through the office, how many people we've supported in Middlesbrough who've had issues with social services. We do it on a regular basis. And we don't care what people's political viewpoint is, we don't care the circumstances, we just want to help people. Every single one of us is in this business, in politics, to try and represent people. And representing you, part of representing you, is to hear when you are angry, when you're frustrated, when you think the system isn't working for you. I can't speak to the individual case, and I can't speak about individual social workers or the way that they've dealt with you in the past. But if the system isn't working, then it's people like Barry and myself and Andy MacDonald and others who can affect change. Andy Preston is the mayor. We can affect change, as Ola is talking about today. That's what this is for. If there are things that are not working, we need to know about them. So we can't just throw up our hands and say, you see, it's politicians or it's the Labour Party or they all know each other, they're all in it together. Andy works with the chief executive of the council. He works with Barry or councillors whenever he has to. That's how we have to do business. But it doesn't mean that we're in anyone's pocket. It doesn't mean that we just do whatever they tell us. We have to develop...
Of someone who is also a social service professional here. So at this point, maybe I will ask the person to...
I'll just finish by saying I don't deny what you're saying. That's what we're here to do. So I want everyone in this room to know that your elected representatives, whoever they are, whatever political stripe, we're here to do a job for you on your behalf, and it's important that you know that we're here for you. And I'll be here until the end of this. And when I'm finished, I'll talk to you and I'll talk to anyone else in this room, anybody at all who wants to talk to me about your concerns, about your issues. You tell me about them, and we'll arrange time for you to come into the office, speak to me, and we'll take the issues forward as best we can. Nobody can promise results because we just don't know what results will be in any case of this nature, or in fact any case at all. But what we can say is that we'll be there for you and we'll take it up and we'll see what we can do to help. Okay, that's what we're here for.
Thank you very much. Let me give you a round of applause, please. At this point, I would like to say a very big thank you to the mayor representative and the McDonald representative. But why we are here today is about grassroots experience. And the reason why we are here, it should be achieved. So therefore, I will also ask if there's any grassroots, any local members that want to say something that would like to talk. Could you please signify it now so that we'll be able to know how many? Because we've got a session Shortly after this, is going to be input from children and social services, question and answer. And we've got an expert here, a professional that has worked for many years, and she knows how the system works. So she is going to make sure everything is balanced, okay?
After hearing all these stories, I just think maybe my story might be a little, because it's all started about let's say 6 months ago. So some of these parents have their stories about 2 years ago, 3 years, or even more. I think what they've been going through is equal to someone who just had this problem recently. I mean, the concern here is 50 seconds. I have to say. So the concern here is we all suffering the same way, the same phenomenon, the same mystery, the same abuse. Because what's been going on with the social services is not only we think we are targeted, it's just because we are 100% sure we are targeted. I don't know on which way we are targeted. Is it our color? Is it because our cultural background they think we can fit in? Or is it something else that they cannot explain to us? Because what I can think is from a mother who have to go through labor after 9 months, and that mother have to lose her child to a woman, a 22 years old woman, a social service agent, who do not know what a pain she went through. So she just go by the book, or by a fake story, or by lying, just to win her case. I don't know how much they get from it. I don't know what they can win from it. But all I can think is that should stop. Somebody have to do something about that. Somebody have to be here to listen to us, to listen to our parents, to listen to things that we are going through. They are breaking us. They are putting us through depression. They are turning people to be alcoholic, to be drug addict. Because what's happening, that's the reality here. And I think from my story, I had a 4-year-old boy. He came back from nursery with some unexplained injuries. I don't smoke, but the case was that child was burned by a cigarette, and it was caused by his parents. And he was smoking a cigarette. But when the social services come, the first question was, do I sell weed? Do I sell drugs? Were they asking the mother, is the mother covering me? So I just felt straight away I was targeted. I felt straight away I was abused. I don't know how to word everything, but I think really the issue here, we need someone that can listen to our stories, someone who can put these cases forward, somebody who can do something about it. And to be honest, my case is still going forward. I'm not going to say I'm happy, because at the end of the day, we went through court, and the judge have to find out that even though after the evidences and everything, they find out I might not be the person who caused those injuries, but the mother did. So now we're going to have to go through separation, because we don't want to lose our son. We don't want no one else to care for him. We are worried about that child culture, that child religion, because we don't know who's going to care for him. So this is what social services had done to us. Nothing but just to break us.
Honestly, we can't solve the problem today. But do you know what? Can you give a round of applause for yourself to be here today? Everybody? Teesside is the most diverse community in the UK. And if that it is, then we have a lot to explore. We have a lot if we can build that cohesion, inclusion, friendly environment. There are a lot of people, bright ideas, that they are ready to move Teesside forward. But only if the structure, if the system can understand and also support everyone, make everyone happy. That is why we said we need to come here today. Let's protect every family. We don't want to accuse anyone to be wrong. However, where are we going, and how can we move forward collectively? On that note, thank you very much once again, everybody. I will take back now. I think I've satisfied everybody because it's about grassroots discussion. Then we take it back to some people here. They are also grassroots, and they are also part of the system. I know the experienced professional inside might have different views, which we'll be happy to also see how we could be on the same point. So should I first go to you, Mommy, or I should go to other people? Let me go to you first.
Hello, everybody. This is a very compromising position you have put in me, Leko. And the only thing I will be saying is, I do provide advice to people as a social worker and as an experienced social worker. And it's always a very truthful advice. And whether you are black or you are white, I provide the same advice because we have policies and procedures we follow in children's services when we work with families. And everything you've said here today, I've had people say the same thing about me. I can remember in Middlesbrough when two children were removed from their parents. They actually got to court, and the father asked the judge whether Becky was getting paid more to remove children. And the answer is no. The answer is we have a procedure we follow. And the thing is, before children will be removed from your care, they will have to follow the procedure strictly. Because there will be assessment completed. They will look at what issues around the parents. And the most important thing is engagement. If you are ready to engage with social workers, and again, I'm not talking for every social workers, because some social workers will do what they have to do. But we have a procedure we have to follow. Assessment has to be completed, and apart from that, they will look at the issues raised from the assessment. Those issues will then be discussed with the parents, and they look at you engaging with them. All we want is for the parent to effect changes. And again, there is, within the Children's Act, the Children's Act says that children are better off within their birth families. And where possible, they should remain there. But if there is abuse going on, then definitely the children will have to go. And I'm sorry, I've told you I have to be honest with what the procedure says. And one thing again is, when the case is actually gone to the court, it's gone to the court arena, you will have a solicitor to actually fight your case in court, and they are independent. You will have the children's guardian who will fight for the children. They are independent as well. And they will look at your situation, they will look at the needs of the children, and they will make that decision, support the decision of where the children should be. Guardians are independent people. Your solicitor is getting paid to actually provide support for you. I've heard everybody, your issues here, and they are different, they are individual issues. I cannot speak for the social workers who have worked with you. But one thing I know is they've got a manager who manages them. They've got a service manager who's at the top. They've got the director of social services. And if you are not happy with what they are doing, I don't know about Middlesbrough, even though I've worked with them. I worked with them for 12 years before moving on. The only thing I remember then is we look at the needs of children, especially ethnic minority children. Really, we look at it strictly up to 2002,
when I left the department. I could remember the service manager then would ask the social worker to go to Becky, to ask Becky about how to engage the black family that they were working with. And we always look at it and decide how to work with them. The first thing will be to go down to their level completely, because the culture is different. They will have to go down to their level and befriend them because they feel threatened by the presence of social workers. So, and that worked for us then, but I don't know, I cannot comment about what is happening within Middlesbrough Children's Services at the present moment. However, one thing I know is we have to look at the needs of each of the children. And before children are taken into care, they have to follow the procedure, complete assessment, and see what type, whether the parents are going to engage with them or not. So, and that is all that's the thing they'll have to do before going into the court arena. And when you are in the court arena, it's out of the social worker's hand, because the solicitors will be there, the judge will be there, and I know a particular judge in Middlesbrough who doesn't take any nonsense from social workers, and that is Judge Taylor. Judge Taylor will actually deal with social worker. He will look at the families. He's got his own views about things. And that is one thing I know about the court process. Unfortunately, I will not be able to comment on individual cases, because the way you are presenting it, you presented the cases from your own point of view. I don't know what procedures they followed. I don't know how we got to the point. I don't know whether there was a significant harm identified. However, before the case goes into court, the threshold must have been met. There must have been, they must have actually identified risk to the children, or else the court will not pick the case up. So I'm sorry, I will not be able to comment on individual cases. But if you are not happy with your cases, you have a solicitor. Speak to your solicitor and let the solicitor go back to court and fight your case. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. My name is Wentai Bowman. I have a lot of titles. I've been here 20 years. Before I came here, I doing the international trade. When I came here, I become policeman interpreter, immigration interpreter for over 10 years. I have involved with the social service. I have seen all the families, from the white family, black family, Chinese family. So I say, no matter how, social workers are morally wrong. It's a time, let us to face them. Because the family is a family. Our culture says we would rather break down the bridges, 24 bridges, not break down one family. So the family is strong. There's a family, there's a country. So the country is made by the family. But now your country is break down the family one by one. So just now this lady, she said she doesn't want to look at the individual. Individual is the true case, because that's true. Truth is very shining, so hurts the judge, hurts other hypocritical people. I had a heart. I'm very grateful we face this problem, because there's another group of people asked me to stand up for the children service, because it's not right to take the children away. You got you waste the government's money. You say you take £80,000. Then your council keeps saying no money. And then you give people only £20 for their £20 a week for their child. And then you give the foster family £30. So it totally is wrong. It's morally wrong. We need to face it. How? Because the MP is, we need to talk to him to change the law, because I studied law as well. How can we change the law? Use the MP to raise our issue. We can't say here, they can't hear they can't, I can feel your tears, parents' tears. I can feel your bloody want to suicide. What it says hell. The hell is your children be taken away.
That's right.
Do you know? So we live in the real life. Every family has, every people have the right to pursue the happiness, liberty. So they violate the human laws. So this is civilized England. They say something nice, safeguard children. I know some children need to be really looked at, like a baby P. But baby P is a kind of fair result of the social service. Right. It's not because the parents, so the parents we need to look at. But you can't because of one case and criminalize all the parents. Yeah, parents is something to, we cultivate the children. So social service can't treat the family like a second-hand citizen, and then they can't treat them less human. That is wrong. So we need to talk to the anti-president. Yes, he need to face the problem. You know, you can't just say, oh, individual cases, go to Hamilton, go in here. No, you just sort it out. So we need them to give us an answer. So just now Matthew said, I don't think we can give you an answer. We need the result. You say you are there. When you're there, you want to get it done. So you fulfill your duty. You get paid to fulfill your duty. Thank you so much.
Just a quick announcement. If you look at the program they gave to you, we've got second page. These are some of the further evidence, further reports on press that you can read through. And the last page, the third one, evaluation. We want your feedback. Could you please fill that and return it to us, please? Fill the third page and return that. But the second one, you can keep it, go back home, you can Google it and read more. And how do we move forward? Thank you. I would like to take it back to a gentleman, if you have anything to contribute.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. It's very sad for me to hear what all of you said now, because all what I see here is my parents, and I'm one of the youngest person in this hall. But yeah, it's true that in this country, we immigrant people who came in this country, I don't think everybody favored to choose to come to England to stay in England. And as well, we don't choose to be in the culture where we came from and the country where we came from. It's made by God. No one can change it. So being here is the willing of God.
Just a quick information. Very sorry, I will tell the apology publicly because a lot of people have been to the court and they find themselves mixed up, so some don't get here, which include the Chief Executive MVDA, Mark Davis. He just sent a text message to me. He has been there and ended up with another event, which later I got to realize is not. So he has come back to his office. However, I'm going to meet him in person and also discuss, because these are the key people we also need to work together and see how we move Middlesbrough forward and Teesside as a whole. Just before we go back to the table, I want us to look at the next discussion, which is presentation and call for independent investigation of some sample cases. We believe we sent message to all Teesside Council, so we only got response from Middlesbrough and from Stockton. On this note, we've had some cases that we are looking at as community advocate organization, and we've compiled them, we've gathered few information, and we've taken them through the council's complaint procedure, which they failed. We are unable to get results. We got some which are positive, but we still need more positive and more dispassionate way of looking at these cases. On that note, we have 3 cases. So due to that, we have Chief Executive Member for Children's Services Council for Middlesbrough here, and we believe they should be able to work along together with Teesside. So we've got for the Stockton and we've got for the Middlesbrough. So we will plead with the Council of Middlesbrough to help us work in partnership with other councils. I would like to call on the Executive Member, Children's Services for Middlesbrough, Barry Cooper, to hand over these cases to help us look into them carefully in a dispassionate way and get us a response as soon as they can. Barry, do you want to come over, please? So we've got for Middlesbrough and for Stockton. We hope you'll be able to work in partnership. with other local.
Yes, we do have. Yes, we do have some joint committees where I can make friends and discuss matters and look into things. What I do need, though, is anybody that needs me to look at anything, I need some form of written authority from you. Otherwise, whenever I try to talk to anybody, they're just going to quote data protection at me.
Aside from these cases, so we will attach it through the email you give us, so that you also be back with that.
Thank you.
So we come back to anyone, because it's still part of panel and question and answer. Have you got anyone thinking of a question? Okay, yeah. Another person? Question before we go?
Question.
Is it question? Do you have question for people on the table?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask, because I've had a couple of issues, where people discuss that my children are not here. I'm an international student. I just came around, and it's quite pathetic when I hear some of these things. But the point is, there's no clear cut of how children are meant to be disciplined. Sometimes they talk about verbal abuse. There are children you need to raise your voice a little bit and be firm when you speak to them before they actually heed what you want them to do. So sometimes these children go to school and their teachers, because most of the reports the social workers have basically come from school, from my understanding, from the things I've heard. Now, these children are being probed, are being asked by their teachers, do your parents shout at you? Do they raise their voices when they talk to you? Do they do this? Do they do that? Sometimes some of the interrogations, I don't think they are called for from the issues I've heard. And when you talk to a little child, a minor, in that way, you can actually incense the child. You can make the child believe he's being victimized or being abused verbally, which might not exactly be the case. There are some children you tell, please, can you sit down? And the child begins to jump all over the place. You need to show you are a parent is in a place of authority. You have to firmly tell your child to please sit down. And I don't see that as verbal abuse. So there has to be a clear-cut definition of what verbal abuse is. And I think the schools should actually get out of the way of families by asking children, why do you sound like this? Apparently your mother talks to you like that. That is what children also pick up things from schools, and it should be well noted when those things are on ground. That's exactly what I want to say.
Yeah, it's a question.
Okay.
You spoke about the procedures that a social worker follows, leading all the way to court and a judge. But my question is, although the procedure is there, there's a section, whatever report to fill, there's the young people to interview and see, there's the parents to see, there's observations to be made, you speak to agencies, whatever, yeah, that's a procedure. But what do we do when the social worker themselves, that person themselves, is such a liar that they will speak to the child and the child will say A, B, C, and the social worker write down X, Y, Z. They will make lies up. They will make false reports to go to the solicitors. They will make false reports, lies, false assessments to go to the courts. They will give their recommendations to the judge to say, I don't think these parents should have the children. You see, these are things which are beyond a procedure. A procedure is only as good as the structure of the paperwork, the paper trail that they can follow. But if they are lying, right, what can we do? But this step 2 now. This gentleman and his children have caught them lying because they've recorded them. But now nobody wants to listen to that. The chief executive doesn't want to listen to that. The heads of social services don't want to listen to that. Nobody wants to listen to it. So this question, it's very, very important. It's like, for example, everybody knows, I'm going to give the mic in a minute. Everybody knows, for example, Martin Road shouldn't be driving 50 mile an hour. Everybody knows that's procedure. When we pass our tests, we all know, we do have a theory test and everything, we know it shouldn't be 50 mile an hour on Martin Road, but sometimes somebody might drive 50 miles anyway, and they'll keep doing it until they get caught. But how do they get caught? They get caught either there's a police there or a camera. But these social workers, there's no one to catch them out. There's no one there right now to catch their lies. And parents, when their life is destroyed because their family's been destroyed, the children have been taken away from them, and their head is not at the right place. They don't have the support. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know whether they're coming or going. They can't sleep. They're stressed. And at that time, they have to go through court. So they're not actually able to represent themselves in the best capacity. They're getting observed. Their contact's being supervised. They've got all these questionnaires to fill. And they're mentally not right because what the social workers have done to them, the abuse that has been done. The question actually is, how do we catch the lies, even though we've got video evidence, but nobody's willing to listen?
Just a lady in the middle. What it is, I know you spoke of like solicitors and things, and your solicitor represents you. In the initial stages, when your children are removed and they're on an interim care order, you know, if you're working, it's like if you're on a criminal charge, you get legal aid. That can be provided for you. Once that time has expired and the final care order has been granted, and like as example myself, my children are in long-term foster care. You know, I'm basically reliant upon social services. I've done everything what has been asked of me. I've done everything, and I've shown that over a long period, over a 12-month period now. So I'm just sort of reliant on going into the looked after child reviews, which are every 6 months. So it's like if I don't get what I want in that 6 months, I've got to wait another 6 months to, you know, and the only way I can do that is go back to court. Now, that had cost a lot of money in solicitors' fees again. You know, not everybody is, you know, can afford a solicitor. You know, and because after the final care is granted, you won't get a solicitor. You've got no legal representation. So you go into a solicitor basically to represent yourself. And obviously, you know, Middlesbrough Council, they've got a big legal team backing them, so you know you're just going to look like the little person yet again. So you're just up against a big giant monster, and that's the way it feels for us at the you know, all the time.
I heard your questions, and I know you said your 3 children, they've actually been they are subject to full care order at this present time. Yeah. So can you tell me how old these children are?
Yeah, my youngest is 6, my middle one's 9, and my eldest is 12. 12,
okay. Yeah. Normally, those 3 children, they are on long-term foster placement because of their ages.
They're just changing over into one. They was in respite care, and now they're going into it happened last week, I believe. They're going into with a permanent foster care, or whether it's an agency or whether it's we don't know.
They were actually in temporary foster placements initially, and because it's long-term placement that was recommended by the court, by virtue of the full care order, they're going into long-term foster placements. In that case, if you want to go back to court, I know the legal aid will not cover you again. No. So it will have to be your funding. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the way it is, and I'm not going to lie to you. That is exactly how it's going to be. So the only thing I will say is you're having contact with your children once a month, and it's for 2 hours. Was there any clause in the court order or during the LAC review to say it will be reviewed?
It will be reviewed
at the LAC review. Yeah. If you are actually, if you are committed to contact, you can actually ask for more contact. Because if they feel that contact is actually meeting the needs of the children, and the contact is an enjoyable time for the children, it's a quality time. Yeah. So they will be looking at saying whether contact should be increased.
Yeah. Do you ever look at a stage return though for the children after a certain amount of time?
I think, to be honest with you, when we've got full care order, it will be normally until the children get to independent age. And independent age is 18 until they are 18 years old. Can I just tell you again? Normally, that is what the law says. But a 16-year-old child could actually make informed decision to say, I want to return home. So they would listen to the child. If they know that what the child is asking for will not put that child at risk, then another assessment will be completed.
Unless we return to court to maybe get a new care order in place.
You cannot get two care order in place. There's only one care order. The only thing you could do is you want to challenge the care order, and I'm sure you must have been given the opportunity to appeal when the case was concluded in court.
No, the barrister was absolutely terrible. They didn't even speak. It was...
Unfortunately, that's your barrister who is supposed to actually represent you in court, and that is an independent person,
I think
not employed by children's services. Sorry.
That needs to change. That's not right, because things change.
We haven't appointed the barrister for you. I think your legal representative should be fighting for you.
Okay.
So, and that is the main thing. If you're not happy with your legal representative during the proceeding, you can actually ask for the legal representative to be changed until you get the person you want.
We don't have one anymore, though. That's it. It's the final hearing. That was it.
Yes, when the full care order is being granted, then the legal aid will not cover you. That's the only thing.
Yes.
So I don't know if I've answered. Sorry.
Yeah, can I speak? I am the mother for these 3 children. The last child, I've been intensive care for 2 months. I nearly died. I'm so free now after my kids being removed. I can have a stroke anytime. I take too much medication. I'm hospitalized loads of time because this is stressful. I start leave. I don't have life anymore. And another thing, I seek away all social services, then put in a case, all young girls, 19 years old, 20 years old, direct for the college. No have one of them come in my house, start accusation me, say I am alcoholic. I say, I never been alcoholic in my life. And she come and she say, she start talking to me, loads rubbish. I say to her, I know you finished the college. Now, how old are you? 19. I say, you have age to be my daughter. You respect me. And then you don't have any degree, any qualification. Because she starting accusation him, he not in a house. I say, you can't accusation him for he not here to defend himself. You make one favor for me, get out from my house. And then after we go in car, and then we lost our kids in car. And then she, after finish, she look us, and they laugh in her face. Laugh in her face. And then now, a couple of weeks ago, I go in Primark, same young girl, watch me, and the 2 more friends, this is social service, follow me, and they laugh in the glee, and they say, look, that's the Brazilian. That's the Brazilian. Them, it's funny for them. It's funny for them, it's not fun for me. Them play a God with us. Them is not a God.
Children as a weapon.
Can I just say?
Them is not a God.
Can I just say? It's unfortunate you find yourself in that situation, and it's not a situation that people are happy about at all. And I do tell people from the start, especially the ethnic minority people, that it's not fun to be involved with social services. So it's not fun. I'll tell you the truth now, because as social workers, we have to balance the right of parents to actually have their children with them permanently with the right of the children to be safeguarded from harm. And what I mean by that is we have to be sure the children are not going to be subject to any physical, emotional, or any harm at all.
They make this emotional, traumatize my kids, because them wash the brain the kids, them torture my kids. My kids, the foster care, say to us the first time, I never ever, in 25 years I am a foster care, I never say 3 boys so behave like these 3 boys. The first thing I say, this boy supposed to not be here, it couple social services, not all is the same. Someone's is good. Them told you, say, everyone get very disappointed with it, I can't say the name, for why she remove your kids, because she not give a chance because that is very personal. Because she don't like him. For this, my kids be removed. It's personal. Because she don't like...
Seven social workers in 18 months.
Yeah, 18 months.
Yes, that is actually possible because of lack of staff. We don't have lack of staff could cause that. So that's one thing. The second thing is social services. We do not make decision alone. We work in partnership with other agencies. We have the school, we have the health visitor, we have the place. We don't make the decision on our own. Everybody puts their own information in as well. I'm sorry, I've said it from the beginning. You will not like what I will be saying, but I'll tell you the truth because that is the way it works.
Thank you very much, everybody. We just have a couple of minutes to spend here, and I told you earlier, we can't solve this problem today. So let us make sure we're looking for a very good point where we can meet and look forward. We want a positive change in Teesside. And on that note, we'd like to say thank you very much again to Teesside University for accommodating us, because this kind of event, some people might not want to. And we wish Council will also look into that, to kind of have a very friendly environment that community organization like this will be able to access for this kind of event. It shouldn't be difficult. There shouldn't be any political forces that will stop this kind of conversation with the grassroots. With that, I've got just one person that wants to ask a question, and from there, we need to call on how do we move forward, action plan, which we'll be expecting Council Executive Member for Children's Services to come back again. I believe he's in charge. He's the one is accountable for anything that will be going on in Middlesbrough. And as he said, they work in partnership with other councils. So we're looking forward for positive, friendly environment from now on. Whatever the pain that is already going on, that's for years. But we can make things better from now on. Thank you very much. I would like to call on John Kabuye to come and ask the fifth question, while we now call on. We have to come back to Masha after John Kabuye. Please make it snap, okay? And Masha Garrett, and after Masha Garrett, we go back to Barry Cooper. And from there, we might call it a day. Thank you.
I'll be very quick. Just, I've got 2 or 3 questions. The first one probably might go to either Councillor Cooper. Do we have any statistics of the children in foster care? And can we really access, especially to know how many BEM children are in foster care? Because I think that would give us a good answer to know really what's happening and really concentrate on what is the best for our people. The second question is probably goes to the lady in the middle. What is the perceived timescale before a case, safeguarding case, goes to the court? Is there a perceived way? Yeah, that's the second question. Now the last one probably is a way forward as well, but as well as a question. Safeguarding awareness. Is there a way people from BEM community can inform the policy, where we can discuss and probably put in our understanding of how things go? For example, when Susan said, in our culture we do this, but probably we don't know that it's breaking the law here. So is there a way we can discuss the policy with you, such that we know what's really happening, what is really required of us, and is there a way we can do that? Okay, thank you very much.
The second question, you want to know what time scale we have before going to court. There is no specific time scales, but definitely before going to court, we will have, there will be a concern identified around, safeguarding concerns identified around the children or a child. And then we will go through the child protection conference. So, and that could actually take place for 12 months, going to 18 months, because the first one, we will look at a time scale of about 3 months, 4 months. Then there will be a protection plan put in place. Then it will be reviewed after 6 months. So after 6 months, they will look at the protection plan. Then they will establish whether any of the plans have been actioned or not. Then they will assess whether the protection plan is still protecting the children at home. So if the answer is no, then definitely we'll be working towards going to public law outline, which is PLO. PLO means the people will sit around the table again to look at what needs to be done for these children to be protected. And if people are not able to say, these are the things that could happen to protect the children, then the PLO will give them some time again to actually effect the changes. And by saying that, there will be a letter sent to the parents to say, these are the things we are worried about with the care of your children. We've given you this deadline to make the change. If you cannot make the change within the identified time scale, we will be going to court. They've given the parents another 6 months opportunity. So they will review that. They do review that again after a month or two. Then if nothing is changed, that is when we have to put it before the court. So it's the only time we put cases to court is when we know everything they are doing is actually not protecting the children, or if there are other concerns raised when the child protection conference, child protection plan is in place. There are still other concerns raised. Example would be if we're talking about parents misusing drugs or misusing alcohol, and there is a child protection plan in place. If we're getting information, it could be from the place, it could be from the school, it could be from the health visitor, it could be from a concerned member of the community saying this person is using alcohol. We've seen the children being left unattended. We've seen the children wandering around. There's lack of supervision. Then definitely we will investigate that again. And we'll look at what needs to change. That means that parent is not effecting the required changes. So then we need to safeguard the welfare of those children. And if it means going to court, then we will go to court. I'm sorry, I know it's not what you want to hear, but I would rather tell you the truth. Thank you.
There's another truth. I'm sorry to...
No, let him ask me the question. Wait, let him. Go on.
We go a long way back. It's not like that.
Go on.
There's another thing. A case is constructed to go to court. A case doesn't go to court. Lies are made. False information is deliberately documented. You talk about core group meetings, you talk about different agencies make decisions, like schools and nurseries, right? And the same school teacher, most of the time, if it's the head or the safeguarding lead, who goes to these meetings, who gets on really, really well with the social workers, and there's a hierarchy, because the social worker is the trained professional, and the school teachers, they go there to give their information. What this gentleman has got here is he took his child to school, and because he didn't trust the school and the teachers, he recorded the event. He took his child to school, and the teachers called him in and said, "Come in, Mr. Latif, oh, it's brilliant, read your son a story," to settle him, because his son was crying, didn't want to go to school. He settled his child, everything was fantastic. The video goes on for about 45 minutes. They thanked him. What did they do a week later? They said he came to school, he was abusive, he was aggressive, and they stopped his contact. I'm just giving you an example. These are the type of things that are going on. Now, before I shut up and sit down, the issue isn't that is there a procedure. Yes, there is a procedure for social services to follow. The issue isn't, is there a law? There is a law. There's loads of laws for them to follow, the Child Protection and everything in Children's Act. The issue is that they are liars, not all of them. They make lies, right? And you can't catch them out. But when you do catch them out, like this guy has and his children has, everybody turns a blind eye, whether it's the police, anybody, they turn a blind eye. The recordings are there, the video recordings are there, right? Everything is there, but they'll turn a blind eye. But one thing I will just finish on, right? I'll give you an example. This guy sent his wife a message on Facebook commenting on how well she looked. She reported that to the police and said, domestic violence. The police came, and we've got the police report. We've got the police report in our hand. The police reported that we went, and the advice that we gave to her is, look, he's just trying to make up with you. But when she went to the social workers, what did they say? Oh yeah, domestic violence.
Let's get it.
I'm just giving you an example of how these social workers in Middlesbrough are stretching things. They're deliberately making lies. They're deliberately lying. All these documents, the procedures that you're talking about, Beaky, you're talking about this section, you're not talking about it, but I'm just saying, whatever documents that they need to fill, whatever assessments that they need to do to get it into court, whatever they have to do to get in there, they can make lies, and they do.
And can I just give you a quick response there? The only thing I tell people is, please don't fight with social workers. You cannot fight with social workers from the beginning, so you won't get anywhere. Because what they will be saying is, if you are fighting with an adult who is actually in a place of authority, how will you deal with children in your care? So one thing is, you need to engage with them. Just go down and engage with them. Ask them questions of what you need to do to change situation, and
Thank you very much.
Engage with
Thank you very much. I would like to call this a day, but before then, I have him for 2 minutes, and Masha Garrett and Barry Cooper to rally it up. What is the way forward?
I'm not an expert on anything, but what I've watched here today is quite frightening. Obviously, the two, I believe this guy because I don't know him, I don't know any of them, but I don't know that when children are abused, they need looking after, and these guys are doing the best. They've gone right away through all the systems that you put in their places, and they've come out the other side, and they're getting no help at all to get the children back. And that should be the first object of your department, is to get the children back where they belong, where they're loved, and where they get their hair combed and their hair cut. And if something's sadly wrong, go back to Marietta Higgs. That's what I remember. Marietta Higgs. She was saying that children got abused, and she was abusing her own children to prove that there was anal reflexology. That's what's wrong with social socialists. You defend yourselves, and you make your own systems and your own lies. Thank you.
I will give it to Masha Garrett.
Just to close in, my name is Marsha Garrett and I work for a project called Challenging Racism. And the main thing that I'm going to focus on, I'm not an expert in social services. I've thankfully had minimal dealings with them. And I just want to say, this lady cannot speak for every social worker. What she can do is speak on her own practice. So I think that she needs to be commended really for coming in to a very emotional situation, which I understand the emotion. A few people have mentioned race with regards to their case, and that's the thing that's caught my attention. For you, sir, when you said, were you asked about dealing drugs? For me, that's racial profiling. Can you prove that? It will be exceptionally difficult. That's how structural racism works. The race disparity audit that came out in 2017, done by the Tory government, and I'm sure they didn't want it to come out, the truth came out that there is structural racism at the heart of all of our key social institutions. Education, politics, health, housing, you name it. I don't see why children's services would be any different. So for me going forward, what we need to be asking social services, what is the makeup of your staff in regards to diversity? What is their understanding regarding different cultures? And as well for you being accused of being a prostitute, for me that's racially profiling. I think all of these things that you discuss in there is about racial profiling, and it's very, very difficult to prove, and social services will know this. So it's about asking what's going to change with regards to structure. Structural racism is a massive problem and it's impacting our lives, and we need to be talking out about that loud. One thing I would say going forward is that the people that are individually impacted, who have had their children removed, representatives from Middlesbrough Social Services should be coming and meeting with you, sitting down and listening to you, because they're the ones that need to be making the changes, to be totally honest. Last point, regarding... I will say another thing as well about courts. People have mentioned courts, having to go to courts. Can we honestly trust our court system to treat us fairly when we're not white? That's the question. And I can tell you this, and I will end on this note. I had a brother who went through the court process. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Whilst he was in prison, a policeman decided that he did not have schizophrenia, that he was putting it on, and withheld his medication. By the time we got to court, he was very, very sick, unable to defend himself at all. I wanted to go with a not guilty plea. I won't go into the details of the case. I wanted to go with a not guilty plea. The solicitor took me out of the room. He'd been a solicitor for 25 years, had worked all around the country, a white male, and he said to me, your brother is a big black man. There is not a jury in this land that will find him innocent. That's the reality of the situation. Okay.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you very much. For those of you, make sure you put in your name for attendance so that we'll be following up with these details. And any progress we get from each council, we will definitely make it public. Okay? Thank you.